It is my pleasure to have this conversation about leadership because obviously leadership and management are two important topics that are behind our career in nonprofit administration and in general what I've seen quite relevant across many sectors. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Marco Tavanti. I direct the nonprofit administration program. But before this occupation and this type of job, I was actually directing leadership development programs at other universities and international organizations in Chicago and in other places in the United States and Europe. And throughout this process, we actually have developed our own understanding of how leadership interrelate to management and management interrelates to leadership. Even though in one distinction, that you see also from the literature is that management is knowing how to do things, and leadership is about what are the things that needs to be done. In other words, it's like more about having this wider vision, if you will, and management is more about having the details of how those things should be done. But really, in reality of the life of organization, we see that managers should acquire more leadership skills, because that's where you want to avoid, the repetition of just agents of the status quo. We want to have innovators and people who embrace the mission of the organizations and, in general, the mission that should be aligned between the individuals and the organizations into something that is bigger than just simply a job. We want people to have careers, and we ultimately want people to have legacy, no matter what the formal position of the organization is or will be. In that sense, I also would say that leadership also should acquire more managerial skills. Too often we see leaders that are very good in their leadership vision, but sometimes they don't know how to effectively translate that into the realm of an organization, but most of all, I would say also into the relevance of society, into the relevance of something that really produce a benefit that is beyond just simply for corporations is just the for-profit, right? But for non-profit, obviously, we are concerned of other type of performances, social and environmental. So on the question, what is really the constitute a good leadership? Obviously, there are many leadership theories out there that have really studied that performances and attitude of leaders out there that talks about the distinction between a transactional type of leadership versus a transformational leadership. I do believe that leadership is certainly about having a vision. And the vision is not just about a strategic planning type of vision that we see in organization. It's also about a vision that has a clear benefit for your organization, but also your society. A vision that is also principled, not just opportunistic for whatever is happening out there. And a vision that is sufficiently and engagingly articulated throughout all the elements and members of the organization and beyond it. So that's why we don't just talk about individuals who are part of the organization, but really individuals who are aware of being part of a community in the concept of shareholder.
A good leader is somebody who inspires people and keeps them motivated and goal-oriented. And I would say a bad leader is disorganized and focuses more on the individuals than the group.
In my opinion, for me, I think a good leader is someone that can, personally relate to every of his follower in a very human way, care about them individually and not just care about whatever you are chasing or whatever you want to achieve. In my opinion, a bad leader is someone that just cares more about what he wants to achieve, so he needs a group of people in order to achieve that goal. But I feel like if you are a good leader, you should be able to relate to everybody on a human, amicable level.
I feel like a good leader is someone who's organized and is good at keeping people in line but not being too aggressive with it, and kind of just like taking everyone into consideration. And then a bad leader, I guess, is someone that, I guess just like all the opposite of that, like someone who isn't good at like not controlling people, but like isn't good at organizing people and like getting people to do their job and making like a good work environment, like a nice, comfortable work environment. Yeah.
I think to be a good leader is you have to be willing to take a chunk out of your time to make sure that everybody that you are leading is going in the right direction that they need to be going in. You also sometimes, it's a balance between being the people you're leading, their friend, and being, sometimes you have to be the bad guy when you really need to get stuff done. But overall, I think being a good leader is just being that support system and being there for the people that you're leading. So being open enough so that they can come to you, being vulnerable with them so that they can be vulnerable with you, and having that trust.
Good leader to me is someone who's willing to put others before themselves, and someone who's also willing to learn from others rather than placing themselves and their experience most important first.
I think to be a good leader, it means to have your own opinions and not conform to what other people are thinking or saying around you, and taking leadership, ownership of like your own actions, and even guiding other people as well. To be a bad leader would be maybe only thinking about yourself, and not like taking initiative in things.
Good leader is someone who's really confident, someone who's straight to the point, responsible, one who doesn't put the group in front, they put themselves in front. Someone who's selfish.
Leadership refers to the capability of not only being persuasive, but having the skills and capability to influence someone's decision. I guess to like promote collectivity and to like make a group or a whole team function properly and effectively. And bad leadership, I guess, it's like contrasting to that, right? Like not having the capability to influence someone's decision, and kind of like not really caring about the group, and just like being in that position just for the sake of embellishing or embellishing their resumes, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, just adding on what Ken said regarding persuasion. To me, leadership has to be about recognizing your team abilities and strengths and weaknesses, and it's important that you also recognize your strengths and weaknesses, so that your objective as a leader is not so that you can do everything by yourself, but to basically give the task to your teammates where their strengths are the best, and then have the weaknesses be covered by each of the teammates due to their own strengths. Regarding bad leadership is like what Ken said, if you're just doing it for embellishing your resume or just to look good, yeah, it's not gonna work out, because you realize you're gonna be so out of the team and out of your own like objective of the position that you're supposed to do, that you're just gonna be a failure.
In my opinion, a good leader is somebody who is able to serve, is of service to the people who he is supposedly leading. And a good leader is somebody who is able to delegate effectively in a way that doesn't make people beneath them feel less than what they are. A bad leader is somebody who sees themselves as being better than their subjects or the people that they are in charge of, and somebody who is unable to delegate without being condescending or overbearing.
Other definitions of leadership that are like, even nowadays we talk about this conscious leadership. I personally think that we need to go beyond that. It's not just about not doing harm, or do not harm. It's not just about doing things in a good, conscious way or responsible way. It's really a responsibility today to step into this global agenda that we have to make the world a better place, our communities a better place for everyone at different level. So a good leader is concerned about gender equity. A good leader is concerned about diversity inclusion. A good leader is concerned about global responsibility and sustainable development. No matter what the sector they're in, no matter what the organizational mission is, or the kind of interest they might have for the specific sector, good leadership is about embracing this wider vision of making the world a better place. So, on the other hand, what is constitute bad leadership? So obviously, the easy answer is like the opposite of all this. But we have seen also behavior of leaders that they're not just bad, they're also becoming toxic. Toxic in organizations because they are part of increasing problematics in organization, whether it through the use of this authoritarian mode of leadership or enforcing certain decision without really engaging the various levels of the organization, whether because they lead by fear rather than trust and engagement. They lead by opportunistic decision rather than a mission that should be inspiring all the values of everyone in the organizations and beyond. So, in few words, I think a bad leadership is a leadership that is really concentrated on just a narrow point of view. Often, we see leaders that just focus on themselves or some specific interests and objective of the organizations. That is bad leadership. I understand that sometimes we're demanded by the context of our society or the different times that our organizations go through to make difficult decisions. But the challenge is how to make those difficult decisions and going through difficult times also through a good approach in which everyone participates and everyone has a voice, so that the collective answer constitute a future that is feasible and better for everyone.